Hey y'all, it's Whitney Nicely, and today we're going to talk about some owner financing tips for you to be able to use in your super hot market, okay? All right, hey y'all, this is Whitney Nicely from She Buys It, and today we are going to be talking all about, well, actually we're going to cover 3 tips on how you can negotiate with sellers so that they can realize owner financing their house to you is actually the best opportunity that they've had to sell that place. Okay? So we're going to cover these 3 tips, and I want to tell you that whenever you're negotiating, whether you're negotiating on owner financing or you're negotiating a lease option or you're negotiating a listing or you're negotiating on your primary house, it doesn't matter what you're negotiating on, as long as the negotiations focus on what the other party wants. All right? That's how we negotiate like a lady. We remember that we collect more flies with honey than vinegar, right? And we remember that everybody is pretty selfish. Everybody is out to figure out what's the best for me. What can I get? And sellers are really smart. And I don't want you working with stupid sellers. I want you working with smart sellers. And so sellers have to know what they are getting out of doing this deal. And trust me, they are getting a lot of benefits when they owner finance the house to you. I like to go through these in a conversation when I'm talking to the seller, and I really like to kind of warm the seller up to these 3 points while I'm looking at the property. So I'll tell you, my mom and I did this when we bought a farm a couple years ago. All right, we did this exact same strategy that I'm about to teach you on a farm. There was a building on this one farm, but it wasn't like usable. And there's a barn because it's a farm, but it wasn't like a house. It wasn't anything that we were planning on doing a lease option on. My mom just likes to collect land. She's got a honey hole, and she just likes to buy everything on the 4-lane highway around her honey hole. So I helped her negotiate an owner financing deal. And we did it by showing the seller why it was going to benefit him to take payments over time than to just get all the money right now. All right, so that's what I want you to focus on. When you're negotiating with sellers on owner financing their house to you, or owner financing their farm to you, or owner financing an apartment complex to you, it doesn't matter. You can do owner financing on any piece of land that is free and clear. All right, we've talked on some other videos about owner financing, and just to catch you up real quick, owner financing can only be done on properties that are paid off. They have to be completely free and clear, no liens, no mortgages, no encumbrances, nothing attached to the land, except the building probably, okay? But no paperwork stacked up on the land saying that somebody else is due some money for this property. It has to be totally free and clear for you to do an owner financing deal. Even if there's just a $10,000 line of credit or a HELOC stacked up against the house, it is not owner financing until there's nothing attached to the house. Okay? So once you've clarified that there's no paperwork, no mortgages, no liens against the property, then you can start talking about owner financing to the seller. And a lot of times sellers that are game for owner financing are in an older generation. Okay? And that's what happened on the farm that we were dealing with. This gentleman has been a very prominent local citizen to this part of Knoxville for a long, long time. All right? He worked on the railroad with my grandfather, my dad's dad. He knew my mom's dad, my grandfather on my mom's side, because they were both buying and selling land and houses and doing stuff like back in the 50s or 60s. So this is somebody that we've known for a while, but we didn't know him. We knew of him, okay? And he maybe kind of knew some of our people, but he definitely didn't know me or my mom when we went to talk to him about buying the farm. So 3 things you got to talk about. And I don't think it really matters which order you talk about these things as long as you cover them and you let people know that you are a successful real estate investor by the confidence you have when you present these offers. All right. So if you are a successful real estate investor, if you're working on convincing that scared 13-year-old girl in the back of your head that you're a successful real estate investor, then type that down below. Say, I am a successful real estate investor now. You have to say now, because that scared little 13-year-old girl in the back of your head that's playing that awful what if game, she needs to sit down and shut up. All right. So you have to say, I am a successful real estate investor now. Whether you've done 10 deals or whether you've done no deals, you have to start saying that to yourself. You have to start repeating that to yourself. Say it out loud 15,000 times a day. Talk to yourself in the shower. Talk to yourself when you're in the car. Talk to yourself when you're in the grocery store. Just walk around all the time saying, I am a successful real estate investor now. And I want you to practice it by typing it down in the comments. Tell me down in the comments. I reply to all of those comments and say, I am a successful real estate investor now. While you're in the car line waiting on the kids, while you're at gymnastics practice or baseball practice, or while you're in a board meeting and you're actually bored in the meeting, go ahead and start writing that out like you used to do when you were a 13-year-old girl. Doodle it out in your notebook. I am a successful real estate investor now. I am a successful real estate investor now. And I want to see it down in the comments. So drop it down in the comments. I am a successful real estate investor now. Okay? So while you're doing that, I'm going to continue on with the 3 things that you need to talk to every single seller about to show them why owner financing is the best deal for them. It's the best deal for you too, but they don't care about you, okay? You care about you, they care about them. I need you to focus on them to make this deal work, okay? You are winning this deal when you get it under contract. So focus on them and actually help them. I know, that's a crazy thought to actually try to help somebody else. It works, I promise. So, 3 things. I want you to talk about monthly income. I want you to talk about taxes. I want you to talk about taxes. I want you to talk about taxes. Okay? Because people don't like taxes, but they like monthly income. So you need to talk about those 2 things back to back. And then you need to talk about generational wealth, okay? We are Proverbs 31 women, all right? Proverbs 31:16 says, she goes to inspect a field and she buys it. With her earnings, she plants a vineyard. All right? I want you to go inspect those fields, go inspect those houses, go inspect those apartment complexes, go inspect the fix and flips, go inspect the deals, and then buy it, put it under contract, get control of that property. Then plant a vineyard. And you don't actually have to plant a vineyard, but that line means get your generational wealth set up. Buy those houses, get them paid off so that your kids and grandkids have more passive income coming in than you do. All right? And we're going to use that strategy with the sellers too. All right, so those are the 3 things that we're going to talk about with the sellers. Monthly income, taxes, and generational wealth. The same things that are important to you. You want monthly income. You want some help on your taxes. And you want generational wealth, right? So do the sellers. All right? People are all pretty much the same. We all need a roof over our heads. We need food. We need love and support. We want passive income. We want help with our taxes. We want to leave a legacy. All right? The same things that are important to you are going to be important to your seller. But in this conversation, I want you to focus on your seller's needs, wants, desires, dreams, more than yours, all right? You're going to achieve yours by helping them. It's a byproduct of you helping the seller. You actually get to achieve your goals too. So let's pretend that we're talking, like Mom and I were talking to Mr. King about buying his farm. And the deal was, him and his wife were still living. They were older. He was a railroad engineer with my dad's dad. He was a real estate investor. He was building houses at the same time as my mom's dad, like back in the 50s, 60s, way before I was around. And he used to just buy up land. He'd go make some money, he'd buy some land. He'd go make some money, he'd buy some land. Well, his kids, I don't know what happened to his kids. Whatever I said about his kids would be a complete lie because I have no idea. But I do know that he has a granddaughter in North Carolina who takes really good care of him. She comes over, she hangs out with him. It's his only family. And he wanted to make sure that his granddaughter was set up with that generational wealth. This man cares about nothing. He's retired. He's got good income. He's okay. But he is super worried about providing for his granddaughter. Okay, so Mom and I realized that pretty quickly. And once we realized that, that's what we focused on, was that third piece, that generational wealth. All right, so when you're talking to these sellers, you have to find out what their pain is or find out what their plan is. You need to know their pain or their plan so you can be a successful real estate investor. That's what it all boils down to. Find either their pain or their plan. Type that down below, pain or plan. Type it down below. I am a successful real estate investor. Drop it down in the comments right there. I go through, I like, and I reply back to all of the comments, okay? So say pain or plan, or say I am a successful real estate investor. Put that down in the comments. So once we found out that his plan and his pain was making sure that his granddaughter was taken care of, that's what we hit on first. All right, we said, well, when we start sending you monthly money every month, you can put that in an account for her so that she has that money planning on coming in for the next 10 or 15 or 30 years. Whatever happens to you, you'll already know that that money is coming in for her to live off of for the next, 20 years, however long you want her to have money coming in every month. All right, you see what I did there? When I was pretend having that conversation, which was the exact same words I probably said to Mr. King, I dropped in having monthly money for her for a long time. All right, did you hear it? I said 10 years, I said 30 years, and then I settled on 20 years. Okay, so I planted a seed in his head of how he can make sure that she gets monthly money for the next long time. Okay? And that hit on two pain points at the same time, right? That was generational wealth, making sure that she is taken care of into the future, and monthly money, making sure she gets drips of that every single month. Because even though he loves, trusts, and just adores his granddaughter, sometimes, I've seen this happen with some of my tenant buyers, sometimes people who have that trust fund money coming in, they have that owner financing money coming in, they have that solid drip of money coming in, if it's large chunks, sometimes it either goes to their head or it goes up their nose or it goes straight out the window faster than it can come in every month. So a lot of times what I've seen with a lot of my tenant buyers is they get lump sums every quarter, but by the end of the next quarter, they're completely out of money. So what I found is when I'm talking to sellers and I present it as a monthly draw, a monthly drip into their account, usually it's not enough that's gonna send them on a huge shopping spree or send them off to Vegas for the weekend, or it's not gonna be enough to do anything but really cover their basic necessities, cover their mortgage payment, cover their car payment, go extra towards their college fund or their kids' college fund. Maybe it's your great grandkids that you're wanting to fund into the future. Okay? So we always focus on monthly drips coming out. And you can tell your sellers that story, You say, look, I could set it up to where they get, thousands of dollars 2 or 3 or 4 times a year. But what I've seen happen, and you tell your story, what I've seen happen is when people get that money, and I'm not saying your people would do this, but I have seen people do this. All right, so you're planting those seeds that you do real estate deals, and you've seen some things go sideways and crooked, and more than likely your seller has also seen some things go sideways or crooked. They've seen their kids or their nieces or their nephews or some people at their church or whatever get large chunks of money and blow through it really fast. And your seller doesn't want that. My seller in this situation wanted to know that his granddaughter was going to be taken care of for a long time. He didn't want her to have big chunks. He just wanted her to get the drips over time, right? So in that pretend conversation that I just had, we covered two at the same time. Monthly income, because we get monthly bills, and generational wealth. Okay? Does that make sense? So, since that was the biggest pain that he was having, and that was the best way that I could solve that pain for him by buying his property, those are the two ways that we focused on talking to him. Then we talk about taxes. Now, I am not an accountant. I am not a tax expert. I'm not a tax preparer. I've never even prepared my own taxes, okay? I am not a tax person. I just know that if I write a seller a check for $100,000, no matter what tax bracket they're in, they're going to have to pay between 30 and 40%, depending on if it's long-term capital gains or short-term capital gains. So right off the bat, they're going to lose 30 to 40% of their money in taxes. Some sellers are okay with that. Some sellers are totally okay because they want that $60,000. They really just need that $60,000. They need it now because they want to, buy a boat or redo their kitchen or put that money down on a different property, or they should do a 1031 exchange at that point, but that's not my business. Anyway, a lot of sellers will see that if they get all the money up front, number one, I have to pay less because I'm actually cashing them out. And I usually give them, 70% minus repairs on the value of their property. And a lot of times that's like 50 cents on the dollar. So if the property is worth $200, a lot of times I'm offering them $100, and then they still got to take taxes out of that. So on a $200,000 property, they're only going to get $60,000. A lot of sellers are not okay with that. And that's where I have a problem with a lot of wholesalers, because they don't know to make 2 or 3 different offers. They only make that low ball cash offer, and I'm like, you are shooting yourself in the foot. Sorry, side tangent. But when you let the seller know that you are a successful real estate investor and you've got the whole picture in your head, when you tell them that they're going to be able to collect all $100,000 or all $200,000 if they will just take payments over time. That makes sense to them, okay? And you can tell them, look, it helps me because if I cash you out and I give you $100,000, I have to go borrow that money from somebody else. I have to pay them interest. I have to do all this work. But if you're willing to take payments over time so that you don't have a big tax burden right now, you'll end up getting way more money. In fact, I could give you the whole $200,000 if you'll give me 30 years. How much money do you want every month? How much money does that break down to? $200,000 divided by 360 months. Looks like I'm going to pay you about, like $1,600 a month. Is that cool? A lot of sellers at that point say, wait a second, you're telling me you're going to give me all $200,000 for this? Everybody else told me they just give me $100,000. Yeah, because they were going to pay you cash. I can give you $100,000 too, but you're only going to end up with like 60 of it. Or you can let me send you a check every single month for the next 25 or 30 years. And I'll be buying the property. You won't have to worry about anything. You won't have to deal with anything. You're going to become the bank. Sellers love that. Sellers love becoming the bank. It sounds super sexy to them because they don't have to deal with any maintenance. I mean, you don't call the bank when your toilet's clogged up, do you? Nope. You don't call the bank when you need a new roof, do you? Nope. You just send that money every single month. And if your seller is really worried about that generational wealth, you can make sure that they set up an account so that when they pass, that money has already been going to their granddaughter or whoever. You could send it to a humane society. They could send it to a charity organization. They could send it to wherever they wanted to. You're going to have control of the property. The money is going to be done so that when they pass, they don't have this huge big probate issue or estate taxes or inheritance taxes, because technically it was sold before they died. Ladies, I want you to use these 3 tips and go talk to sellers today who are ready to owner finance. They want to owner finance their properties. They just haven't realized it until you present your offers. You present the full picture. You tell them everything that you know on how you can help them, and sellers are going to love it. I promise. If you want more information, if this was awesome, then give me a like. But if you still want more information, I've got some other videos on owner financing, or you can go to getyourfirstdeal.com. I've got a whole masterclass where I'll teach you more about owner financing and lease options and assignments and wholesaling and all that other stuff so that you can get your first deal done fast. All right, it's a free training class. All you got to do is go to getyourfirstdeal.com. There's a link down below, getyourfirstdeal.com, and get started. Do these deals. Help sellers who want to owner finance. They just probably haven't even thought of it yet. You can do this, ladies, and I am here for you. You are a successful real estate investor. Don't forget to drop that down in the comments. All right. Bye, girls.